Hi everyone. Listen to the story of a spouse who discovered the dark secret of their partner. This tale will take you on an emotional journey and through tough decisions. Stay tuned for more details. My wife, 26 female, and I, 31 male, were married for 3 years when this story took place. We lived in a nice neighborhood that was almost too quiet. We hadn't even considered having children at this point, but in the back of my mind I decided the neighborhood was safe enough for children to ride bikes or roam around freely. My wife and I often went jogging early in the morning, and I remember the first time we saw a young man that lived 3 houses away from us. He was sitting on the front porch and looked pretty young for a homeowner. I assumed it was his first house, or that he lived with his parents. I waved to him like a friendly neighbor. He casually waved back, but his eyes were locked on my wife. He smiled and raised his eyebrows before turning away. I was annoyed, but we were wearing headphones and my wife didn't seem to notice she was being checked out. I let it go, but I didn't plan on inviting that guy to any barbecues. Later, I came home from work, parked in the driveway, and saw the very same guy walking across my front yard. I called him out and asked what he was doing. I could tell he was trying to decide whether he should turn around or not. He did, and awkwardly said he didn't mean to trespass. He was just introducing himself to my wife, because we'd never been properly introduced. We exchanged names, and I was polite, even though I wanted him to feel like I was a little uneasy about him being there while I was at work. After I knew he was gone, I went inside to find my wife. She was setting the table for dinner, but she seemed kind of embarrassed. She just asked me if I was okay. I said yeah, confused, and asked her why. She said she just wanted to check, because I was talking to the neighbor on our lawn. I asked her if he knocked on the door to introduce himself, and she responded saying yes, and suggesting we invite him over for dinner or a cookout since he lives alone. I was surprised she called him by his name, already knew he lived alone, and wanted me to invite him to our house. This wasn't exactly what I had in mind. Since I felt a little weird and knew his name, I decided to search for his online profile. It wasn't hard to find, and neither was his linked Instagram account. I scrolled through, and to my horror, found a picture of him kissing my wife. It was a recent upload, as if they were hanging out while I was at work. I couldn't believe it. There was no caption, but a lot of people commented asking who the woman was. He wouldn't tell them. My wife was cheating on me with our neighbor. She was kissing him. How long had they known each other? I felt devastated. I took vows with this woman. My parents paid for our wedding. I needed to know why she was doing this, and if there was anything I could have done to prevent it. However, saner thoughts prevailed. I simply took a screenshot and decided not to confront my wife until her birthday party. I created a spy Instagram account to follow AP. I hoped for more proof before exposing her in front of all her friends and family. This was the worst time in my life. I couldn't touch my wife. I couldn't tell her I knew about the affair, and I couldn't attack AP like I wanted to. I felt really alone and distraught. I tried to think about the future, and how great it would be to fall in love again, but it was too soon, and I had too much healing to do. So I was just stuck in this kind of purgatory for a while. I was shocked my wife didn't even notice or ask me what was wrong. I planned to ruin the party by presenting her wrapped presents and divorce papers. The presents were going to be framed poster-sized prints of her and AP's Instagram photos. I hoped for more proof, but when I saw it, I was infuriated. I was at work when he uploaded another selfie with her, then another the next day when they were at the creek. Then the day before her birthday party, he uploaded a picture of her standing in his bedroom, wearing one of his oversized t-shirts, pulling up her panties. The caption read, "Ira the Forbidden, peach is always the tastiest." Even though I had to bundle up my jacket and scream into it to keep myself from imploding, this was the proof I'd been waiting for. With this evidence, she wouldn't get anything in the divorce, and I could start my life over. I was thankful, betrayed, and heartbroken all at the same time. Now I knew she had sex with him. I wondered if it was the first time. I wondered how she was going to act around me. On the way home, I stopped at a print shop to have 6 poster-sized photos and divorce papers printed. It was cheaper than I expected, so I'm pretty sure they gave me the divorce discount. When I got home, she was almost normal, except I noticed she didn't want to look at me too long, like she feared I'd see through her facade. She got up the nerve to casually ask me if AP could come to her birthday party. Inside, I was screaming. I couldn't believe she could ask me that after having sex with him. She must have believed she was innocent until proven guilty, and I didn't give her any clues that she was on trial. I even surprised myself when I told her AP could come to her party. I just plastered on a fake smile and said, the more the merrier. As she slept, I framed and wrapped the giant pictures. I also put X-Lax in the cupcakes I baked for the party. At the party, AP stood towards the back of the room. It was awkward. Her family and friends didn't know why he was there, so they tried to create chit-chat, but he couldn't tell them the truth, obviously, so it became awkward really fast. Everyone had cupcakes first. Then I insisted my wife open the divorce papers. When she saw what it was, she looked at me like her soul jumped out of her body. Then she looked at AP with her mouth hanging open. Her mom immediately asked what was wrong. I didn't let her respond or answer her questioning stare. I just handed her the next present. She opened it slowly, and when she saw it was a picture of her pulling up her panties, she fainted. Her guests let out a couple screams, and two of her friends came to her side. I unwrapped the rest of the photo and turned it around for everyone to see. They gasped. I said my wife was cheating on me with AP. They all looked at him. While I opened the other wrapped posters, AP took off. Then my wife woke up and realized what was happening. She just whined and cried while her guests wondered what to do. Her best friend was so shocked and asked her if it was true and what was going on. After AP left, my wife tried to follow him, but he didn't stop for her in the parking lot. She was so embarrassed she couldn't face her mother or friends. She just started walking home and refused any rides from anyone. I drove beside her to talk, but she only blamed me for everything. Days later, she was at her mom's when she said it was my fault AP was ghosting her. I told her she had a lot of nerve to tell me that. She was the cheater. I didn't care what she felt. Even if she wanted to apologize, it wouldn't mean anything to me. I told her I left the divorce papers on her mother's porch and she cussed me out before I hung up. She was supposed to be my wife for life. If she didn't want to be that anymore, she should have had a serious conversation with me. No matter how hard it was, if she was that miserable or ready to split, I at least deserved an honest conversation. And if there was no issue in our marriage, then I didn't deserve her inconsideration. She only thought of herself and what she felt like doing. She's still living with her embarrassed and controlling mother. She doesn't have any friends or lovers. I'm so sorry your wife was selfish enough to start seeing and sleeping with the neighbor. To me it sounds like she was insecure and wanted his love and attention in addition to yours. It made her feel good and that's all she cared about. As you said, it seemed like she was confident because she didn't think you'd ever find out. It's lucky you caught him in the yard that day and found him online. You got the proof you needed to divorce her and retain your house. Not only that, but thanks to the internet, you got the perfect birthday presents for her too. She'll probably never be as surprised as she was in that moment and she deserved that life-ending experience. You're a fine example on how to handle this traumatic, harsh reality. Thank you for sharing with us. Now let's get into our second story for today. I met my wife while we were attending a terrible high school. We lived in a dodgy area and came from poor families. We got to know each other in school, out of school, and a few years later while we worked full-time at the same company. Only her father and my mother were still alive, but we each had several aunts and uncles, brothers, sisters, and cousins. We all lived around the same area and depended on each other. When my wife, girlfriend at the time, fell pregnant with my child, I was comforted by the fact that we lived close to loved ones. We had a community of family to love our child and help us raise them right. Even before the baby was born, my wife and I had a growing savings fund. When she told her family about our savings account, she explained